Hello, beautiful soul, and thank you for tuning in to this special episode of our podcast. For the next 13 to 14 minutes, you're going to hear a meditation that's been adapted from the book Thinking Like a Mountain, which we spoke about in our last episode. You'll hear the voice of my friend and colleague, Lisa, who read this meditation out loud, outside, and so you'll hear the beautiful bird song in the background as well. So we invite you for the next little while to find a quiet and comfortable space where you won't be interrupted and you won't be distracted. And we invite you to just sit back, close your eyes, and follow along the journey in this beautiful meditation.
Evolutionary Remembering. Let us go back, way back before the birth of our planet Earth, back to the mystery of the universe coming into being. We go back 13,500 million years to a time of primordial silence, of emptiness, before the beginning of time, the very ground of all being. From this state of immense potential, an unimaginably powerful explosion takes place. Energy traveling at the speed of light hurtles in all directions, creating direction, creating the universe. It is so hot in these first moments that no matter can exist, only pure energy in the form of light. Thus time and space are born. All that is now, every galaxy, star and planet, every particle existing comes into being at this great fiery birthing. Every particle which makes up you and me comes into being at this instant and has been circulating through countless forms ever since, born of this great cauldron of creativity. When we look at a candle flame or a star, we see the light of that fireball. Your metabolism burns with that very same fire now. After 1 Earth year, the universe has cooled down to some 13 billion degrees centigrade. It now occupies a sphere of perhaps 17 billion miles in diameter. This continues to expand and stream outward. Some 300,000 years pass while space grows to about 1 billionth of its present volume and cools to a few thousand degrees, about as hot and bright as the visible surface of the sun. The electrons are now cool enough for the electric force to snare, cool enough for matter to take form. Matter begins to assume its familiar atomic form for the first time. The first atoms are of hydrogen, then helium, and then other gases. These gases exist as huge swirling masses of superhot cosmic clouds drawn together by the allure of gravity. These slowly condense into forms we know as galaxies, and our own galaxy. The Milky Way dances among them. Within the Milky Way, our Sun was born about 5 billion years ago, near the edge of this galaxy, while the cosmic dust and gas spinning around it crystallized into planets. The third planet from the Sun, our own Earth, came into being about 4.5 billion years ago. The ground then was rock and crystal beneath which burned tremendous fires. Heavier matter, like iron, sank to the center. The lighter elements floated to the surface, forming a granite crust. Continuous volcanic activity brought up a rich supply of minerals and lifted up chains of mountains. Then, about 4 billion years ago, when the temperature fell below the boiling point of water, it began to rain. Hot rain slowly dissolved the rocks upon which it fell, and the seas became a thin, salty soup containing the basic ingredients necessary for life. Finally, a bolt of lightning fertilized this molecular soup, and an adventure into biology began. The first cell was born. You were there. I was there. For every cell in our bodies is descended in an unbroken chain from that event. Through this cell, our common ancestor, we are related to every plant and animal on the earth. Remember that cell awakening. Be that cell awakening, as indeed you are. We are all composed of that cell which grew, diversified, multiplied, and evolved into all the biota of the earth. What does it feel like to reproduce by dividing into two parts that were me and now we go our separate ways? Now, some hundred of millions of years have passed. First, we were algae, the original green plants, then the first simple animals. The algae started to produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, and this over 1 billion years or so created a membrane of ozone, filtering out some of the fiercest solar rays. Now, I am a creature in the water. For 2.5 billion years, simple forms of life washed back and forth in the ocean currents. Imagine them as I speak their names. Coral, snails, squid, worms, insects. Imagine yourself as perhaps a simple worm or an early coral living in the warm sea. Feel your existence at this time, for it remains within each of your cells, the memories of this period in your childhood. This was followed by the evolution of fish and other animals with backbones. How does it feel to have a flexible backbone? How do you move through the water as a fish? Be aware of your backbone, your head. What does it feel like to move through the ocean, to listen through the ocean? Finally, about 450 million years ago, the first plants emerged from the water and began to turn the rock into soil, preparing the ground for animals to follow. The first animals to emerge from the seas were the amphibians. Slowly use your forearms to drag your body along. Imagine pulling with your left and right together. As amphibians, we are still very dependent on the water, especially for our reproductive cycle. It wasn't until the evolution of the reptilian amniotic egg that we were liberated from our dependence on water and able to move completely on dry land. Still crawling on our bellies, we started to use legs, coordinated with arms. Notice, how does it feel? How does your range of movement and perception change? By 200 million years ago, we had successfully moved onto the land. As mammals, we became warm-blooded. Remember how, as a reptile, you used to have to wait, sluggish, for the sun to warm you? The sun now fuels your metabolism in a more complex way. What are the advantages of this? Living in holes, alert, sense of smell, sampling molecules from the air. To breed before being consumed. All of us are descended from this pedigree for 4 billion years. At every step, billions fell by the wayside, but each of us was there. Imagine yourself as a lemur, or perhaps as a small cat. Notice how subtle your spine feels. Feel like moving on hands and feet with greater lightness, leaping and climbing. Discover more flexibility in movement, head and neck. Imagine the sounds. There was an increase in playfulness and curiosity. We were moving through the trees, running along branches and swinging through them. Our strong, opposable thumbs giving us the grip we need. Our sensitive fingertips able to judge the ripeness of fruit or groom. Agile balance and keen vision develop. We eat food on the spot where we find it. Then, our body becomes heavier and stronger. We can squat erect but use knuckles to walk. How does the world look and smell? What about communication? 10 million years ago, a major climatic change began, and the forest, home of ape, began to retreat to the mountains and were replaced by woodland and open savanna. It is here on the open savanna that we first learned to walk on 2 legs, standing on 2 feet with strong jaw thrust forward. How does it feel? Vulnerable but inventive and adaptable, able to look up and easily see the sky. We postpone eating food until it can be brought back to camp and shared. We live in families, discover language, catch fire, make art, music, tools. The complexities and subtleties of cooperating successfully with others in a group involves the development of language, the telling of stories, the use of tools, the making of fires. How does it feel?